What is going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. I am on St. Quentin Scar for the Frontlines game mode. This is the most recent map that has made it to Frontlines from DICE's continual quest on bringing us all of the maps on BF1 to a very popular game mode, Frontlines. But in this video, I want to talk about more on DICE's approach on these new maps that they're adding onto this game mode, and kind of share my thoughts and maybe get you guys to join in on the conversation on how you're feeling about DICE utilizing these maps not quite to their full potential. So as you see here on Frontlines, as you got into this beginning loadout screen, and you can see that it's only going to really fill up, I would probably say maybe 2/3 of the map here that you could probably play on St. Quentin Scar. St. Quentin Scar is a pretty large map, and if we're not going to see on this game at least me be pushed all the way back to my home spawn, but my home spawn is generally around E flag on Conquest, so I mean it doesn't even go up nowhere near where F flag would be at, and so you're kind of really missing you know, the whole part of the map. And I was looking in some discussion about this on the Reddit page where people were bringing this up as well, feeling a little bit disappointed and underwhelmed, especially when we have maps like Nouvelle Nights on Frontlines, which I think is probably one of the best maps for Frontlines mode, as it really utilizes the whole map and takes advantage of all the trench warfare that Nouvelle Nights brings. So that was always really nice to see that on Nouvelle Nights, and kind of a really nice substitute for the lack of having operations there. But as DICE has progressed more of these maps onto the Frontlines mode, we've seen less and less of the maps being used. We had Sinai that came out that wasn't really utilizing all of Sinai, and now we have St. Quentin Scar that again is not utilizing the whole map. Now there are reasons for this, and I thought that was the interesting part of this discussion, which is kind of the open field nature off of some of these spots that normally wouldn't work all too great on Frontlines. So for instance here, if they pushed it all the way back over to that space where normally you would be at with the F flag on Conquest mode, where you kind of have to go up the grassy hill and make it up over that hill till you can get to that flag. There's a lot of open space there, and a lot of arguments I've heard against the idea of kind of really utilizing the whole map is the fact that, you know, you're going to end up, you know, having to have more of a walking and running simulator than an actual battlefield game, because you're going to be, you know, running in these open fields trying to avoid getting shot, and there's most likely a very good chance you're going to get shot and get killed, and you're never even going to be able to cap that area. So there are reasons that DICE is trying to really kind of make the map as balanced as possible. As if they used all of St. Quentin Scar, I could see their reason on not wanting to do that, because obviously there's more cover over here on this side as we're pushing up towards the enemy's home spawn than there would be if they used all the way over there where the grassy hill was at, if they made that our home spawn. So that's definitely interesting to weigh out. There is kind of maybe a middle ground that some people might think of, which is maybe add some obstacles, maybe around more of those open sectors to give more cover. I think the big problem with this, and I'm not a developer, so I'm not quite sure, you know, exactly the details to all these maps, but from what I've heard is that they do maximize all of the memory that they can use on these maps. So adding a little, you know, obstacle here and there would overload these maps, and basically they would crash and you wouldn't be able to play them. So that's from my understanding. I don't know if it's detailed, you know, specifically for this map, but overall I do know that that's why when we play a little bit, what makes Incursion so interesting, which is Battlefield's new competitive mode, is they are kind of redoing these maps in such a way where they're much smaller, so the memory, they have more memory room, and because of that they're able to kind of like not, you know, leave like tanks that get destroyed on the map. They can leave them on the map, they don't have to despawn, and it makes it a very interesting you know, dynamic in the game to have, you know, the tank you were on to be, you know, destroyed and then left on the battlefield where you can possibly use as cover, or maybe place a tank in the area, you know, to give your teammates cover and let it get destroyed, and know that you're going to come back to there later in the game and it's still going to be there. So I'm not sure they'd quite have that option at all for some of the larger maps, and they would have to really do a complete overhaul on these maps, which makes it a little bit, you know, kind of disappointing. But At the same time, I would rather them be more focused on, you know, bringing us new content, or, you know, bringing operations mode to some of the maps that we haven't seen it on. So I always kind of see Frontlines a little bit still inferior to operations, as operations gives us some very awesome cuts, screen animations, and I still kind of lean towards liking those massive 32 versus 32 battles. But Frontlines is still an awesome game mode, and I would be curious to hear what your guys' opinions on them utilizing the full map. I kind of still lean on a little bit, would rather them utilize the full map, just because I still don't see a lot of players really use a lot of smoke, and me being a big proponent of smoke and realizing a lot of times you can get away from being in the open field by throwing down a lot of smoke, and I've still yet to see a whole squad display a huge smoke screen across the battlefield. I think that would be some pretty interesting gameplay if people got on board and did some good squad work in regards to that. So definitely, again, would be interesting to hear what your guys' thoughts on this, because we've seen this as recent with Sinai, which I thought they possibly could have brought out more of the map on that one, even though both sides of the home spawns would have been really open, but it would have made it at least, I think, a little bit more balanced, as one side of that map seems to be a little bit more open than the other side. So definitely would have been interesting dynamic in that part, but something like St. Quentin Scar is a little bit not like that, and has one side has a little bit more cover than the other, so I can understand a little bit more here. But overall, I would hope that further on these newer maps that they bring into Frontlines, that hopefully they're able to utilize as much of the map as possible, because like I said, maps like Novel Nights are really epic when they really bring out the whole map and its full potential, and just really makes Frontlines what I think Frontlines is really meant to be. It's just ultimate tug-of-war battle just across the full map. And I honestly would go as far as to say I wish they would bring back the unlimited time on just like special events, or maybe on weekends, where they had some servers that were just dedicated to full you know, Frontlines, where there's a no time limit on these just a couple special servers off the side, maybe on weekends, where there's more a potential opportunity for people to have longer time to play this game mode. But let me know down in the comments below how you guys feel about this overall and what your thoughts are, because I think this is definitely a very interesting discussion. But that's it for you guys today. I appreciate you guys being here. I am Livin', and I'll catch you guys again later. Peace.